honestly. I think we need to fight for the 4-day work week thingy. Because the Monday work days, it doesn't work very well for me. Honestly. Right? Then we need to fight for the 4-day work week. Okay. Now let me see. It looks like this. All right. Thank you guys for joining today. My name is Clement, and I'm going to be doing this with my partner, Fred. We are going to talk about project controls, which is, I call it a hidden career gem. So let me share what we are going to. By the way, Fred, if you can also, I think you're on video, so you can introduce yourself before I share this, and then we can get going.
Yeah, my name is Fred. Also project manager, project controls, and a civil engineer.
Nice. Civil engineer, we need to go back to Ghana, man. That was the goal. That was the goal. It's still the goal.
It's still the goal. It still lives up to that point, so why not?
Yeah. But let me share this. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
I use Teams all the time, so I'm still trying to get around with Zoom. But anyways, we are going to talk about project controls, which is a branch of project management, and we will talk about the skills that, let me switch to the next slide so you guys can get the outline. So we're going to do introductions about ourselves, what we do, how we got into this field. And then after that, we're going to talk about what project controls is in general, career paths and roles in there, compensation, because the money is very important always. And then we will talk about how you can land your first job in project controls, and we'll talk about the skills you need. And at the end, I always like to throw this in there too. So this is something I call the hidden career gem. And we're trying to see if we get any interest list, not interest list, if we get any interest from people who are interested in learning this field. If we get people who are interested in learning, then we will create a class in it. We don't have the class yet, but we want to introduce this field to people because quite unfortunately, the demand is not there for it, right? There is a huge career field. You can make good amount of money in it. We came across it. I don't think anybody necessarily advised us to be in this field. We just chanced on it. We've been in there and we thought it's really a career field that people should know about. So the plan is, okay, let's see how it goes. If we get people who are interested in learning it, we will establish a class. If we don't, we still want to preach about it and let people know that this career field is out there and you can make good amount of money in it. And the work is super easy. I mean, Fred, I don't know what you think, but for me, sometimes I'm like, the project controls analyst at my company, sometimes I'm like, what are these guys doing? But anyways, it's not as hard as other fields that I've seen. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. So quick thing, my name is Clement. I was the guy in the ad that you guys saw if you came here from the ad. And so my career journey, I started as a civil engineer at the time, but my goal was always to work in construction. So when I came out of school and I started working in construction, it was a lot of site visits, going out, sometimes nighttime, the cold days, warm days, being out. I realized it wasn't really for me, right? So luckily, in my company, I was working with the State Department at the time, and luckily, they wanted somebody in a department they called project controls. I had never heard about it in school. It was the first time they were like, "Hey, we need an engineer in project controls. Is that something you're interested in doing? And so I was like, why not? I mean, I talked to one of my supervisors about it, and he was like, oh, the project controls guys, they don't do anything. All they do is just move papers around. So you're not going to learn anything. So if that's what you want to do, because this supervisor was a bridge engineer, right? So, but I was like, at least I want to give it a shot. And when I went in there, I realized it was very cool. And we're going to talk about what that is. So I did the project controls for some time, but for me, I like trying new things. So I started learning data analytics as well. And now I do more of the data analytics work, but I still keep my project controls experience with me. It's a great experience. It's something that, like we're doing now, preaching about it to make sure people get in there. But Fred, I'll let Fred introduce himself as well, and then we'll share an interesting story. So, Fred, go ahead.
So my name is Fred. I also graduated civil engineering. I was a civil engineer, started being a construction project manager. And I met Clement when I was in Virginia working. So we became friends. I moved on to work with the States job. And whilst working with the States, we always talk. I mean, we've been friends since Virginia, so we've always been talking. So I shared my also frustration about working on project management on site to Clement, like talking about how you have to go to site most of the time. You have to manage a lot of projects at the same time and all that. And Clement also was sharing the same frustration. So he started working as project controls. Then he told me about it. So he have started working, he have experience. So he has to also mentor me into getting the skills needed to transform to become a project controls. So that's where it all started from for me.
Thank you, Fred. And so, yeah, at the time, Fred would come over, and then we would learn some project controls together, and you know he working in project management already. Recommended him for a job in a company I was working for at the time, and the rest is history. But Fred, since you've been in here, how has the experience been like? I mean, so the company that I was working for at the time, when you were coming in, they say I left the same week. The goal was that you come there and I train you on the job, but I got fed up with the job and I left. But then you've done very well in this field. How has it been like? Have you had any regrets coming into this field or?
No, I've not had any regret. It's a good experience. Flexible schedule. That's what I love about that. I've been able to work remotely and also do things that you love. And it's not that stressful of a job or a lot of meetings like other project management professions. Like you have to do a lot of meetings or go to a lot of sites. So yeah, I've really enjoyed being on this field. And I think I'll continue staying on this field.
Okay. Thank you, Fred. Let me see. I think my screen went off. Let me share again. And then, okay. So yeah, what is project controls in the first place? Let me go to the next slide here. It's a branch of project management. Okay, so if you want to get into project controls, first thing you have to have some interest in project management, right? But it focuses on the schedules, risk, and cost. So for a lot of people, when they hear about project management, they think about the project manager, right? And that's all most people know is about, okay, becoming a project manager and just managing projects, right? But majority of projects are very huge. Projects are not managed in a day. It takes sometimes years and years to manage a project. So for the project manager to successfully deliver their project, they need help. Okay. He or she needs help. So what happens is that through the project life cycle, right? The project manager, who is the guy or the lady in the middle coordinating all these things, then he has people around him or her. And these people are supposed to help the project manager successfully manage a project. So that's where project controls come in. So in project controls, we have the scheduler, right? As a scheduler, your role is to see that, okay, if you're putting up a building or we're building a road, or if you're building an IT software, right? The scheduler is your role to coordinate with the project team, look at your productivity rates, and to be able to say that, okay, if this IT project is going to take a year to build, why is it going to take a year? What different steps does the project have to go through in order to complete this within a year? So at the time, when you do all these coordination, you put activities together, you put durations, which is how much time each activity take. And then with that, you build a schedule for the project, right? The schedule is what tells us that, okay, now we can plan to finish the project on this date, because every project needs to have a finish date on it. So scheduler does that. If you're a project controls analyst, normally it could be every week, it could be every month, it could be bi-weekly, depending on the project requirements. It's your role to update this schedule as you go. So you build the schedule to say, we are going to finish the project in this particular time, every bi-weekly or weekly or month. Based on the project requirements, you update it to say, this is where we are within the project. That's how we're able to determine if the project is doing well or not, right? Then we have the cost analyst or cost controller. It's your goal to help establish the budget for the project. You do estimating. That ties into an estimator as well. So we do the estimate, and based on the estimate, we determine that this project is going to cost $1 million, right? And the cost analyst, like I said, weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, you're updating this cost to tell the project manager that, hey, we said we are going to spend $1 million on this project. Now we've spent, let's say, 100,000 already. We are staying under budget. We are staying over budget. Based on how we are spending money right now, we are going to go over the budget or we are going to stay under budget when the project finishes, right? You're calculating KPIs. In project management, we have schedule performance indicator, cost performance indicator. You're calculating all that to help the project manager determine if he needs to request more funding for the project, or if we need to stop doing the project because we don't have money, right? So that's the role of a cost analyst. You're advising the project manager on cost. Risk analyst is the same thing. It's your responsibility to determine the risks that affect the project. Risk can be positive risk or it can be negative risk, okay? If you leave here with nothing, that's something to remember. Positive risk is saying that, hey, something is coming up. Maybe we needed 10 developers to develop a software, right? But when we went in, we realized that we can use 8 developers, same amount of time, to develop this software. So in that case, that is a positive risk because we've been able to determine that instead of 10 now is 8. If we were going to pay each developer $100,000 and we needed 10 developers, that's $1 million. Now, if we're only using 8, now we're saving $200,000, right? Negative risk is saying that we're going to develop a software. The budget was $1 million for 10 developers. We went out there and we realized the 10 developers cannot do the work. Now we need 2 more. So now we have to cough up $200,000 more to pay 2 more developers. That's a negative risk because it's going to run the project over budget, right? So risk analyst is your goal to see things that will affect the project positively and negatively. You help determine the cost of these risks, if there's any cost involved in them, and then you help the project manager make informed decisions that, hey, this is what is coming, so prepare for it, right? You're like the weather forecaster on this project. You tell the PM, hey, a storm is coming, so we need to prepare for it, right? And by the way, that's also a risk. If you're working in construction and we have a storm coming and it's going to stop work from happening, as a risk analyst, you're advising the PM on that. And value analyst, That's something that you can be as well. That is pretty much integrating the schedule and the cost, like I said, to calculate KPI, schedule performance indicator, cost performance indicator. That helps the project manager make informed decisions on what to do next on the project. Some companies, when you work for them, they combine all these different rules, especially if the project is not a big project. They'll combine all these different rules into an assistant project manager position, right? So they say you come in as a project controls guy, you're the assistant project manager, you work hand in hand with the project manager, you build their schedule for them, you do their cost analysis for them, you do their risk analysis, and then anytime you're the go-to guy for the project manager. If the project manager needs something on course schedule, anything, he gives you a call and then you tell them, hey, this is what is happening based on the data we have on the project, right? So there's all these opportunities. Some companies, if you work on medium-sized projects, they normally hire the scheduler and cost analyst in one. So if you work in project controls, you might be the scheduler and a cost analyst at the same time. Sometimes you might be the scheduler, cost and risk analyst at the same time. Estimators normally stand on their own. Sometimes you'll be the scheduler, cost, risk, and end value analyst, right? Together as one. But for the huge companies that work on huge projects, they like to separate all these out into different roles. So if you're a scheduler, you just focus on schedule. And if you're a cost analyst, you just focus on cost analysis. So these are the different uh parts of it, like I said, it has to do with scheduling, risk, cost control, and stakeholder management. Make sure that everybody is doing what you're supposed to do on the project, right? I think that is the three slides that I had. So I'll turn it back to Fred. I think the next one that we had, what is project controls? We've discussed the career paths and roles, right? Let's talk about, Fred, your experience compensation wise, right? And I think I'm going to start sharing here so that people can see as well as we discuss this too. And by the way, as we are discussing this, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat or you can raise your hand and ask. This is a free environment. We want to make sure that you get the full understanding of this field. So, Fred, based on your experience, right, money wise, when you got started in this from now, if somebody is coming in entry level into project controls, what could they expect to make?
I think most of the time, entry level is around maybe like 80K to 100K.
Okay.
But I was lucky to be a program manager already before I started, and I got those mentorship from you. So I applied straight to a mid-level and started as a mid-level. And mid-level is normally around most advertised jobs is within 95 to maybe 125K for the mid. So I started as a mid-level. And then for after some few years, you can rise up to a senior level. If you know all the basic skills to do your work, you can easily rise up to be a senior level.
Yeah. And I think at a senior level, one certification that you should consider at least having is a PMP, correct?
Yeah, correct. I mean, if you start, it's good to have your PMP
Yeah.
for them to know, understand, like you have the basic knowledge of project management.
Okay. And one thing I'll add is that if you enjoy if you want to be a project manager, this is also in line with a project manager. Like I said, everything that you do, you're working hand in hand with a project manager. So if you get that PMP and you're like, you want to shoot for a project manager role, you can. It's just that project manager. I don't know, only few people enjoy doing that because you have to be the center of attention, coordinating everything. And I don't know, Fred, you were a project manager before you transitioned here, right? What would you say the difference was?
Yeah, the difference is you are doing everything yourself. As you're saying, even the risk manager, scheduler, cost analyst, everybody have to work with the project manager. So imagine you coordinating all these various sectors with all these people, and then going back dealing with if your company have to deal with a customer, dealing with the customer you're doing the project for, and dealing with the physical work on site with the engineers, with the construction staff, and coordinating everything. Sometimes, to me, it's a lot of work to do. The pay is good, but comparatively, it's almost the same pay as a project controls analyst or project controls associate. So you'll be doing all this work and you might be compensated almost like the same person who is helping you, but you are doing a lot of work. So to me, that's the difference. It's about the work and maybe what you like to do. If you
Okay.
like to sit in a lot of meetings, do a lot of coordinating, maybe you can go in for that.
Okay. That's great. Yeah. Somebody said it's a project analyst. Does a project analyst perform the same role? I believe so. So that's why I showed the different type of roles that you can have. Sometimes your company may call it a project analyst, but I feel like if you go in as a project analyst, then you're probably doing all that stuff, right? You're probably doing scheduling and cost.
Yeah, most of the time, if you're an analyst, like the company you were in when I joined, they name it analyst. They don't call it
Yeah.
engineer or associate, or they call it analyst. And you'll be doing cost and schedule at the same time.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, if you're a project analyst, and it depends, every company has a way of defining their job titles,
Yeah.
but most of the time you're doing both scheduling and cost. And if Unanya, I like your name by the way. Onyefulobi, that was one of
That's
my
one.
favorites. Yeah. She said I work as a project control specialist, but now I want to know what exactly your role entails. What do you do? So Fred, in your project controls, right? Can you
Mhm.
give a brief overview of what you do from like within the project life cycles before the project start and when the project is happening? I mean, what do you do?
So before the project starts, you build a schedule. They'll
Mhm.
tell you the scope of work. So you build a schedule. And yes, you build a schedule with the project manager or the engineer on site. So whoever will be doing the work directly, you sit down with the person and you build a schedule. Most software used for the schedule building is Primavera P6, though there's other softwares used, but now most companies use Primavera P6.
Okay.
So that's the first thing you do, give you the scope of work, build a schedule. And then if your company, you have to do a job cost estimate to see how much the job is going to cost. It can be in the same Primavera to add resources and rate to get the cost. Or it might be Excel build. You use Excel to build that cost estimate to know how much the whole project is supposed to cost. So those are the basic things you have to do for the beginning. And then also have to find out you have all the resources to do the work. Then when the project starts in the controlling and monitoring stage, then you have to start monitoring, set up a baseline to see how you're going to compare the cost to whatever you've built already. So that's what you started talking about, the CPI and then SPI, cost performing index and schedule performing index, so that you can compare. Now, is your project doing well? Are you behind schedule? Are you on schedule? What are the risks involved as you go? So those are the basic things. And then you'll be reporting to the project manager and you have a whole team to report to. Then project closed out, you basically closing the project. Know if the project was successful, you met all your KPIs, which is key performance indicators, which can be, did you meet the cost and did you finish the work on schedule? And then what are the lessons learned for the next project? And then project is closed.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think if Unanya, I think that's Fred has uh aligned the details very well, but if you have more questions, you can drop it. Uh, thank you, Fred. And oh, somebody asked what's the full meaning of PMP? PMP is a project management professional. So if you work in this field and you build experience, I think you have to work in a project management role for at least 3 years before you can, or is it 3 or 4? I think it's 3, right?
It's supposed to be 3 years, but I mean, if you take the training online and then you can have the hours, you can
Yeah.
still apply for it.
Yeah. So once you apply, what it does is, I mean, it opens a lot of doors. So if you start in this field, that should be your go-to. Because once you get that PMP, you can easily become a senior project controls analyst. If you decide to go for like a supervisor type of position, can be a project controls supervisor, project controls manager, project controls director, or you can just choose to go the project manager type of role. So I would say everybody should have it. If you saw our flyer, I think I had a PMP on my name. Fred had a PMP on his name. So we just got it when we got into the field. It's a very good certification to have, even if you decide not to do project management. So how can you go about getting into a project management role as an undergraduate in business management? Okay, Betty, we're gonna talk about that part on the skills you need. Somebody answered the PMP. Okay, thank you. Okay, Microsoft Project Manager is intuitive. So Microsoft Project Manager, is it the manage? No, Microsoft's scheduling tool is Microsoft Project.
Yes.
So what is
That's
Microsoft
Microsoft.
Project Manager? Is that something that?
It's the same thing you're saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, unfortunately or fortunately, majority of companies out there use Primavera, like Fred said. So, if you're going into this field, I'd recommend, if you know Microsoft Project already, at least learn Primavera as well, because a lot of companies use that. But if you know a scheduling software, learning more scheduling software shouldn't be hard for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So let's talk about how to get into the project controls field, right? That will answer Betty's question as well. So Fred, based on your experience, what do you think if somebody woke up today and they're like, I want to get into project controls? I mean, I know based on our experience working in this field, we have seen people without even a college degree that are doing very well as project controls analysts. We've seen people, majority of project controls people are actually they don't have any degree in project management or anything. I've seen accountants, I've seen people who had their degree in like course related stuff and they just found project controls along the way. Like I'm saying, project controls is a field people just stumble into and they seem to be doing very well. But if somebody woke up today and they're like, I want to do this, what would you recommend? What kind of skills should they learn? All of that.
I think you need basic skills in cost and schedules we're talking about. For the cost, you need Excel skills because most of the things you'll be doing in costs will be done in Excel. Not every company, because like estimating, some people have estimating software they use, so you'll not be using any Excel, but they'll teach you how to use the software. But even that, before you get a job, they'll still ask you to do some projects sometimes, and it might be in Excel. So even during the interview stage, they might ask you if you have basic skills in Excel. And then the Primavera. I know somebody spoke about Microsoft Project, which is also a scheduling tool, but most companies don't use it. But if you have that skills and you tell a company you are good in Excel, you have Microsoft Project, but you are fast to learn, so you can learn Primavera when you start working, they might give you a chance. Because as you're saying, some people start with zero knowledge in both, but they get a chance to learn.
Yeah.
And during that stage, if you start at an entry level and you get luck to be employed by a company into that particular field, you just have to learn hard, learn all the skills to be able to fit into it. But not every company will give you that opportunity. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like learning those skills is important.
Yeah. I know like the company that we worked for, they brought in as a Primavera specialist. when I was there to come train us in P6. And that was a 1 week training, but it was really good. So for them, they were okay hiring you without necessarily knowing Primavera, because I don't know if it's still the same. I think it has probably changed.
I think it has changed because I remember during my interview, they asked me one or two Primavera questions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I think, Betty, to go back to your question, if you have a business management, like I'm saying, project controls, you don't need a specific degree. And the fact that you have some kind of management degree will even help you a lot.
yeah.
But first things first, like Fred said, you need to know tools like Excel, right? Excel is good for doing all the cost analysis. You need to know a scheduling software. You need to, well, before you even know the tools, have the fundamentals of project management.
Project management, you have to learn basic questions about what is risk management,
Yeah.
what is scope management, like basic knowledge about project management. You need to have that.
Yes, because this is a strong branch of project management. So you learn the fundamentals of project management. And once you get to understand what the project management is, then you can learn that. If you learn Excel and Primavera, two tools, forget that. If you learn those two tools, that can propel you into this field, right? So that is what fundamentals of project management, cost and Excel, Primavera. That those can get you there. Somebody said, how about Jira? So Jira, I know for people who use it, mostly use it to track different tasks and all. So I've seen that in the project controls world. If you know it, that's great. I don't think it's a make or break tool like Primavera in them, but if you know Jira, I think it's definitely a plus for you. Or Fred, have you used Jira in any of your roles?
No, I've never used
Yeah.
any of
I
my.
know in one of my companies, we used to use it just to track different tasks, like where people were with their tasks. So if you finish, you will go move the task to the next person who was responsible for the next part. But that was about it. I learned a little bit of it at the time for that purpose, but I didn't use it for my direct job or anything.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of software for data when you start that each company uses. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I think if Nanya said that she schedules with P6, but I wanted to understand the other aspect of project controls. What is an MMRS? If Nanya, if you can break down that down for me. Cost report, controls budget, and change management. So, Fred, do you do it? So the cost reports, I know you do. You know,
Mhm.
the company that we work for, yes, we used to build cost reports every week or sometimes twice a week.
Twice
But
a week. Yeah.
yeah, but the standard one is once a month. Most
Yeah.
projects that
Most.
you go on,
Mhm.
yeah. So once a month, or if your company was like ours, you know, what you do is you pull all the actuals on the project and then you compare that to, like we said, the budget was that job cost estimate that Fred talked about. So that becomes your budget for the project. And the earned value management that I also mentioned, when you're pulling your monthly actuals and you're getting with your project manager to update how much work you earned, that is the percent completes on your project. You can use that to compare with the actuals and say, okay, we stayed on the budget. Our CPI is above one, which is on the budget. If it's below one, is over budget, right? If you stayed, that's where the end value management happens. So in our rules, yes, we used to do that. Uh, change management is also, I know in one of my jobs, I did that too. I don't know if we used to do that with our job. I think when all the extra work came in and we
Yeah.
had to make
You
changes,
do
right?
change management, but you don't really do much because if you tell them how much the job is going to finish and you know the cost will go over, you just need the approval of extra money, right? So at my current job, we just do is fill a particular forms and put the reasons why we think we need extra money. Though the project is not done yet, but we you're estimating we're going to be going over the budget, right? So you
Mhm.
just fill the forms and say, oh, as the project is going, we are estimating to finish $20 more. So we are requesting $20 extra money, and then send it to the project manager and maybe his director or head director to sign off on the extra money.
Yeah.
So that's kind of change of the amount. It can be scheduled too, if you think you're going to go over the schedule. So that's also another change because the schedule is going to change. You're going to be going over the schedule. So you have to go on a meeting and maybe explain why and what caused that, and then how people approve it. So change management sound like a big name, but it's not really
Yeah.
anything. So
And when I used to work for the state, so over there, since as a project controls engineer, I was reviewing stuff for contractors. So yeah, when they requested changes to anything, it was my responsibility to review all the change orders, make sure that it makes sense. Contractors will request change orders for anything, right?
yeah.
So it was my responsibility to review these change orders, make sure that what they're asking for is valid. And sometimes if they are asking for more money than they deserve, we talk about it and see where the middle point where we meet, and then we pay them for that. So if you know, yes, change management, that's part of our rules too. It's not as huge in there, but we do that. And the monthly managers report, that will be the cost reporting that we do. So financial reporting, which is when I was talking about the different rules, the cost analyst part, that's where that falls. So it's your it's a huge responsibility in project controls because at the end of the day, forget about all these reports and all these fun stuff. All the CEOs and the directors, all they care about is the project
Making
going
money.
over budget or is the
Mhm.
project staying under budget? It all falls down, it all goes down to the money, right? So I know sometimes when the project is going over budget, people will start going mental on it. It's like, what is going on here, right? But if it's staying under budget, then we're good. And through the monthly reports, or if you work for a company that requires it more than monthly, through those reports, that's how you communicate with them that, okay, we are doing well or not, right? For me, since I have now I do more data analytics too. I develop Power BI reports and stuff. Uh, I have seen that some of these my company, for instance, they move towards, instead of project controls analysts sending in monthly reports to communicate how the project is doing every month, we build a dashboard for them. We tap into the actuals data, the schedule and everything, and then we build a dashboard. And when they go on the dashboard every day, they can see how every project is doing. They can drill into specific projects. But as a project controls analyst, at that point, they're still, so I work directly with them. I'm their data analyst. So their role now is they don't have to spend a whole lot of time downloading the actuals and doing all those manual Excel calculations. But when you go on this dashboard and you see your numbers, you see where the cost is not right and all, it's still your responsibility to find out the drivers behind that cost. So you have to go talk to your PM and tell your PM that, hey, I see that we overspent $1,000 here. I see that we overspent $100,000 here. What caused this, right? Why are we overspending here? Why are we underspending here? Because your managers, as part of the monthly reports, they still expect you to come in and be able to tell them exactly what is driving the cost and the schedule. But now we save them at least 2-3 days of work of just downloading the actuals and doing all those calculations. That's why sometimes I look at them like, these guys, they're just chilling. Sometimes I feel like they're just chilling, but hey, what can I say? But anyways, I don't see any more question in the chat. Fred, I think also job flexibility, right? I know you mentioned that job flexibility, remote, hybrid, that's something that people care about so much now. Are there that kind of opportunities in this field based on your experience?
Yeah, so we started like almost post-COVID or during COVID time, like 2021 there about. So most of the jobs were remote at that time. Right now, some of them are moving into hybrid, but mostly maybe 2 days or 3 days in the office. But there are still some fully remote jobs, but it's hard to find fully remote. But the most common ones is hybrid. I don't think anybody does project control that goes to the office 5 days a week, maybe maximum 4 days. But most of the jobs are hybrid now.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, that's a good thing. And that's because in this type of role, you don't need to be on site for anything. You just need to have a good communication with your PM and you just roll things out that way. So, yeah, I think we've talked about the money, we've talked about what the job is. I think the last one that I'll add here will be the program that we are gonna establish if we get the interest from people. So I'm gonna send out an email after this meeting, and let me share here. Let me see this. So when the class happens, we are going to teach it in 3 months. And what we are going to do, we are going to teach it via Teams, and we also record it. So the plan is to teach it twice a week. And then on top of, so one thing about project controls, if you know tools like Power BI, that also make you a top applicant. You know, you don't have to be a Power BI developer like myself, but if you just know how to use Power BI, that can help you a lot. So course curriculum is gonna be, like we said, you need the fundamentals of project management. So we're gonna start it off with the introduction to project management, teach about the different types of project management out there, the rule and project life cycle. We are going to talk about industry examples. This project controls, it cuts across every industry because every industry manages projects. And then from there, we will teach about schedule. How do you build a schedule from scratch, all the different parameters that goes into building a schedule. And then we are going to teach Primavera, how to use Primavera to build schedules. So from there, we will get into the cost aspect of it. We will teach how to do cost estimating and how to build a project budget based on that. And then we will teach cost control and forecasting, right? This is the part where we compare our budget versus our actual cost in order to, we also forecast, right? Forecast is saying that, hey, we have 1 year for this project. We've completed 2 months. This is how much we believe it's going to cost in the next 8 months, looking ahead of the project. So, and then we're going to talk about end value management, which is huge in project controls. This is where we will teach the KPIs, schedule performance indicator, cost performance indicator. Personally, I've interviewed at least 100 project controls analysts when I was doing it full time. End value management is where most of them fail. A lot of project controls folks that will come in, they know how to do scheduling, but if you start asking them questions on end value management, that's where you lose them. So we're going to teach that, and we're going to teach the project reporting, which is the part Ivunanya mentioned, right? How to set up your reporting cycles, updating your schedule, doing that for your course too, right? And then we're going to introduce you guys to Power BI and show you guys how you can use Power BI for this reporting stuff. And then, yeah, for people who want to get more into Power BI, we have a data class that we teach. We teach Power BI as part of that. So we will give you access to that Power BI class to learn more for yourself. It's not a need in this field by any means, but it can get you ahead. And then we are going to work on a final project together, right? The final project that we are going to pick is going to be something that It's a real world type of project that we both believe is going to help everybody. So we're going to work on it as a final project. And then the best part, we are going to do the career coaching, the resume building, optimizing your LinkedIn. We're going to do interview prep. You know, when you go in, like I said, I've interviewed at least 100 project controls analysts. I know what questions to ask in interviews. I know how to answer them and how not to answer them. You know, so that's something that Fred, also being a senior right now, we are going to combine forces to help students get there. But like I mentioned, the class is not set in stone yet. After this, I'm going to send out an email for everybody that are registered, and we are going to get an interest list, right? If we see people interested, this is a great field. We think is going to help a lot of people. But if we don't get people interested, there will be no need to teach the class. But if people are interested, then at least we will communicate a start date for the class, and then we're going to launch it. So watch out for that email if it comes out, and fill out the form so that at least we can see the people interested and see how to go about the class. So yeah, I think Fred, do you have anything to add? I don't see anything in the chat. Let me stop sharing. I don't see anything in the chat. Do you have any last minute items to add here?
Yeah, I think this is a good gem of opportunity a lot of people don't know about. Because a lot of people always think just about project manager and they don't know about the other aspect of it. So it's a field which is in high demand, and it can be in IT field, it can be in construction, it can be in manufacturing, it can be in government, anywhere. So there's high demand of people. So yep.
Yeah, the companies have high demand. The people don't have the demand for the job. I mean, I think we all want to get into IT, but it's like, this is the back door. That's what I always say. You were asking about SQL, Power BI, and Tableau classes. No, we will start a new one next year. The one we are currently doing is ongoing. So a new one will start next year in January. But with this one, we will pick a time to start based on the interest we get. So we haven't set anything in stone yet. Okay. It's 6:59, 7 on the dot. So thank you guys for joining. Fred, thank you for all the insights. And we are going to send an email out by tomorrow. So watch out for that. And we will see you on the other side. Thank you.